Martin Brundle, good to see you here. We're at the start of another season already. What's your view on this current season?
Really looking forward to 2010 in Formula One. We've got new cars and drivers on the grid. We've got Lewis versus Michael Schumacher, something we thought we were going to be denied forever. Michael versus Ferrari and the rest of the world. Now he's joined Mercedes-Benz. 4 world champions on the grid, all of whom could win a race or even the championship. We're not going to know where to look first.
Yeah, so many factors that have come into the equation this year. But first of all, let's look at that British dream team of Lewis and Jenson. What's your views on that one?
Well, I think Jenson's got his work cut out to beat Lewis Hamilton in his own backyard in a team that he's made his own. I wouldn't underestimate Jenson. He's fast, and of course he's won a world championship, and that's for a very good reason, and that's he can get the job done. And I think it depends how the cars perform, whether it needs a bit of finesse and minding your tyres, or whether you've got to manhandle them, as to which driving style is required for 2010 with no refuelling, for example, and much heavier cars at the start of the Grand Prix. So we'll wait and see, and it will be very close, but I think Lewis must have the upper hand there.
Do you think it's too close to call at the moment?
Between Lewis and Jenson, let's see how the cars perform. We won't really know until the end of February, when everybody's been out testing. We've seen the cars on the same track, same day. Of course, you don't really know the fuel loads, but even so, you start to get a pattern coming through. And my money would be on Lewis in that fight right now.
Why do you think there's so much talk about, I mean, everyone's talking about Lewis and Jenson, but it really seems as if everyone's sort of saying they think Jenson's made a mistake by taking on this new challenge. Why do you think that is?
Well, I admire Jenson for saying I wanted a fresh challenge, and I've won the title, and I've been with this team with different names, but the same team for 7 years. So I fancy going and racing at McLaren against Lewis Hamilton. So I respect that totally. But I think many would, if you look at the multiple champions of the past, they've made a team their own. They've really dominated a team. Everything's been focused and galvanised around them. And he had that opportunity with Brawn that's now morphed into Mercedes-Benz. And he had Chauvelin, and Andrew Chauvelin, his engineer around him, and a group of people that really supported him. And he's got to start all over again. So I think most of us think that he should have stayed on that path, but we could all be wrong. He knows better what he really wants to do.
Don't you think sometimes that motivation is the springboard that takes you on to another direction?
I think a challenge is, yeah, but it's very complex business, Formula One. You need so many things to be right. It's in your own head, your own driving skills, the technical support, the way the car's designed around you, the dynamics of the car, how it handles. So there's so many aspects to it that over a period of years you get that really fine-tuned, and then suddenly you have to start again.
Now, was it a surprise to you that Michael Schumacher is making a return?
Well, yeah, I am surprised, really. I mean, he was going to jump in the Ferrari last year, he said, because just to help the team out after Massa's accident. And now, of course, he's back full-time for his own. I think that sort of whetted his appetite, and he decided that he'd be better driving a Formula One car than bouncing down the track on his head, having fallen off a motorbike.
It seems true to form that he's back out there already. We know he's been testing a GP2 car. We know obviously they're not the same as a Formula One car, but it just seems as if he never really walks away from anything, does he?
Well, I think when you've been in Formula One a long time, or you've been a professional racing driver, and Michael was one of the early ones where he was always a professional driver, never really had a proper life or a proper job, has he? He's been groomed to be the star that he is. And you get tired of the media and the travel and the technical meetings, and so you lose the need to do it. You never lose the speed really until your eyesight goes. And I think he's gone into life and realised that he's quickly got through his to-do list of what he wanted to do with the family or travel or whatever, had all of that time that he craved to himself, and suddenly how do you park all of that ambition and adrenaline when you're still in your 30s?
Now, this year, obviously, we've seen some old teams go, sadly, but obviously some new teams coming into the mix. What's your view on the current crop that they're going to be on the grid?
Well, we'll have to wait and see if they make it to the grid and how fast the cars. I think the Cosworth will be solid. I wouldn't underestimate any of the new teams. I've learned that in Formula One. Never underestimate anybody, actually. I think it's going to be tough for them. Their cash burn every week must be horrendous. And worse still, the first 4 races are all long-haul flyaways. So if they're carrying reliability issues or shortage of parts, then they're going to be tested in the extreme in the early part of the season. So I think is a great story for Formula One, much more interesting than an underperforming Toyota or BMW, frankly.
Do you think that it'll sort of be a bit of a division, really? There'll be the sort of the front runners, the obvious front runners, and then it will be the best of the back runners?
I think so. I think to an extent it'll be a two-class grid. I'm sure one of the new teams will get the chassis just about right, have some good Cosworth horsepower and be in the mix and do a good job. I think from time to time we'll have to politely look the other way while they get their act together.
Any surprises in store for this year, do you think?
Well, I think it could be so many, frankly. I mean, the last 3 seasons have been epic, and this one should be even more interesting, really. I mean, you know, I've been asked here at the show, you know, who's going to win the world title? I have no idea whatsoever. It's just a guessing game at this point, until we see how the cars are shaping up. The usual suspects will be up the front, I'd imagine.
Okay. Are you looking forward to the year?
I can't wait. I mean, I'm looking forward to 2010 more than some of the years when I was driving, when I knew I had a bit of a shed to drive for the season and to carry on my back. So I think it's going to be awesome.